So here's the Dillon that I've picked out. It's the 550, and I got, pardon me, the stand for it, and I also got the bullet tray for it. I just thought that if I was putting that kind of money out for it, I should pretty much, you know, get it set up the way I wanted to. I bought a 9mm kit and a 38 conversion kit. Comes with one powder measure already. And I picked up an extra tool head. So here is the tool head I have set up for my other caliber, 38. The only thing really of note is that I picked up an extra powder drop die, and I have that set just so it sets a perfect bell in the case for a 38. It's a lot less messing around to do when you're trying to set up your powder drop. Alright, so I just moved to a progressive press from a turret press. I was running off an old Lee press, and I'll show you just a quick clip of me reloading on it shortly. But what I did was I upgraded to this to be able to make ammunition a little bit faster and hopefully a little bit better. The biggest part of changing over to a Dillon was really a mindset. Anyway, let's talk and reload at the same time. Every time you do something, you're doing it 4 times once you get going. Right there, I just charged my case. I resized another case and put a primer in it. Now I'm putting a bullet in one. If I screw up one thing, then I pretty much have to leave the station empty. That's a big transition for somebody who's been working off of one station at a time. What I'm doing really is I'm checking 4 things at once. When I was working at turret press, I just do it one at a time. You know, you could check, how did my primer seat, all that good stuff. Here I'm checking my primer, I'm checking my powder, I'm checking to make sure the bullet seated well, and I'm doing that all at once. Before I would do that one step at a time. Not a big deal. It took a little while to get used to. Some of it I'm doing by feel. The primer is done by feel. The bullet seating as well. But I visually check every powder charge. Now for 9mm I can stay seated. My chair's high enough that I can peek down and see what I'm doing. But for 38 special I have to stand when I reload. And I bought a lamp just to make sure that I could see down the cases, because it's a little bit shady. There's a hole in the actual tool head, so you can actually shine a light down it, which is kind of handy. And I have a flashlight that I sometimes use, but I just got a new desk lamp. Found it's quite useful. I figure if I'm spending this much money on a press, a few dollars on a cheap desk lamp isn't going to hurt. It's a magical sound every time a bullet hits the tray, that's for sure. Anyway, my first couple of batches of ammo weren't that good, to be perfectly honest. I had one squib on a 38. I didn't have the powder bar set properly, the return on it anyway, so it wasn't working. And I just wasn't being vigilant and checking everything. So, but I knew that was going to happen with the first 100 of each caliber that I did, because I knew I didn't have everything set up just so. So I segregated that ammunition, and I suggest everybody does the same thing if they haven't worked on a progressive before, and just shoot it carefully. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, there. Very good. And if it looks like I'm not going very fast, and I'm probably going a little bit slower than I would be on my turret press, it doesn't matter. You're going so fast because you're doing 4 things at once. You really don't need to worry about your speed. I think I'm just going to wrap these up here, and then we'll have another look at the press in a different manner. So let's see what we have for ammo. Alright, as you can see, it doesn't take long to throw together a good supply of ammunition. I figured out the way I use this machine, I'm probably making 240 to 300 rounds an hour, and frankly that's going to serve me just fine. So just for contrast, here's my turret press. Each bullet requires a size, a reprime, a charge, double check your charge, seat your bullet, and crimp. It's all pretty straightforward, but while you're doing that, you have time to get feedback on each step, and you don't necessarily get that when you're doing your turret prep. You don't necessarily get to do that when you're doing the progressive press. So what happens is you have to check things 4 times as fast, or 4 times on one downstroke. And just my mind wasn't quite ready for it at first. So the first batch of ammo I made, a few of these dropped out with no primer. It's because I didn't have a feel for the press or a feel for checking everything. So you can tell when a primer goes in a pocket. You know, there's a real tangible feeling that you get, and there's a feedback that you get. So if you're not getting that feedback, you have to stop and you have to check your cases. Well, my first batch of ammo, I didn't do that. So as you can see, here's an example of one of the ones I'll have to pull. Here's another problem I had, a crushed 9mm case. I put the bullet in, but I let it tip sideways, so I wasn't paying attention there. I grabbed a 357 instead of a 38, and boy, you can sure tell. Look at that trombone. So working with a progressive is a lot of fun, actually. But there's a few things that you have to do, and build a rhythm, I guess, is one of those things. Check your powder, seat your bullet, put it in a new case. Did everything feel good on the press down? Yes. And there's goes the primer seating. Oh, check my powder, put it in a new case. Everything feels good. Oh, there goes the primer. And just rinse, repeat. And then all of a sudden it starts becoming part of the regular routine, and then you'll just know you're doing everything quite well. But boy, the first couple of boxes of ammo certainly didn't feel that natural. But I'll tell you one thing. After doing this for a little bit, I'd have a hard time going back to the turret press. I'm going to definitely have to get another powder measure and set up for 223 on this. And I thought I would just do most of my reloading for large primer either on my single stage press or on the turret press I showed you. And you know what? It's really not that hard to change out the primer arm on this thing. So I might end up having to make some 308s as well. What I like to do in between rounds, when the alarm goes off that tells me I need more primers, that's when I also check my powder. Always make sure it's topped up and that there's enough to go around. Alright, I'm going to running out of bullets here, which brings me to the other part of having a turret or a progressive press, is you're going to need lots of components. It sure doesn't take much time to get a lot of ammo made with a Dillon. What do I have here? I have 250, 280 38s made, 300 9mm, plus what I'm putting in the rack now. You're going to get good at this. It took a little while getting my head around this press, and sometimes it was just because things went wrong. Like for instance, I'll just start one off here. So I'd forget to put a brass in or something like that. Well, you can't just go and put another brass in because you've already got powder in here. So what you have to do is you just sort of have to do a bit of, I just have to skip it and move on and try to get that in. The only thing is when there's already a primer in there, sometimes it's a bit tricky and you have to pick up on the arm just a little bit, and otherwise it makes it difficult to feed. And the same thing if you forget to, there we go, I'm going to forget intentionally to put a bullet in here. Well, I can't put a bullet in here now because then I'll double charge this one. So you're best to either pull this little brass pin out and take that one out, or better yet, just leave that one alone. Hitch it after the crimp station so you don't spill powder all down your box of loaded ammunition. So when something goes wrong, just remember, you know, I'm going to leave one station open, and that's no big deal because trying to fix it really slows it down and it really messes up your rhythm, and that's where mistakes can happen. And the biggest thing that I can offer, you know, in the experience that I had, is certainly with my first batch of 38 specials, is there's no substitute for checking every powder charge visually yourself. You're going to do two things. You're going to check it and you're going to see, hey, does that case look like it's got any powder in it? And then the second thing you're going to see is, does it look like it's got the right amount in it? Great press. I would recommend it highly to anybody. A great first step when you're moving towards a progressive. The fact that you have to index it yourself means you actually visually have to look and you have to be sort of in tune with the machine a little bit. And I think that made the transition to a progressive much better for me. I could see myself getting a 650, but right now this is more press than I need. I can put out plenty of the ammunition with it. Well, I said I wasn't going to offer a lot of advice in this video, so I'm going to try to stick to the powder dye for each of the tool heads that you have and each of the calibers that you're going to be reloading. It's going to make your life so much easier. And take your time, because even going a little bit slow on this, you're still going really fast. You're just putting out a lot of ammunition, and you're going to run out of components before you run out of time, I think, if you're going from a turret press, unless you're increasing your shooting considerably. Anyway, thumbs up for Dillon. They make a great press. This thing seems solid as a rock. I got a great dealer, and I'm having a lot of fun reloading. The only thing is I'm noticing that I'm going to run out of components. I just picked up 2,000 primers. I've got about 1,500 bullets left before I will have to replenish. So this is going to be an expensive summer between paying for this press and then all the reloading components.